The weeks turned into months, and Jake and Lily's cautious steps became a rhythm of trust and intimacy. They weren't rushing. They didn't need grand gestures or dramatic promises. Instead, they focused on presence, being there for each other, in small but meaningful ways. Each shared coffee, each quiet walk, each late-night conversation became a brick in the foundation of the life they were rebuilding. One crisp Saturday morning, Jake invited Lily to a farmer's market downtown. The city hummed around them, families bustling, street musicians playing soulful tunes, vendors calling out their fresh produce. It was ordinary life, yet to them, it felt extraordinary. The mundane had become sacred because they were together. They wandered through stalls, picking apples and fresh bread, sampling homemade jams. Lily laughed when Jake insisted on trying a bizarre-smelling cheese just because he thought she'd like it. He laughed when she teased him for nearly dropping a basket of heirloom tomatoes. It was easy, light, alive. She realized she had forgotten what that felt like, to move through the world with someone who was truly on her side. Later, they found themselves at a small coffee cart tucked between the flower stands. Lily leaned on the counter while Jake ordered their drinks. She noticed how his eyes scanned the market, how he nodded to a familiar vendor, how he moved with calm certainty, a man who had been broken but was learning to walk again. She felt warmth she hadn't felt in years, a combination of relief, love, and hope. "Jake," she said, touching his arm lightly, "do you remember our first date? The one at the little diner by Riverside Park?" He smiled. "I remember. You spilled your tea, and I pretended not to laugh." "You laughed," she corrected. "I did. But it wasn't mean. I was too nervous to know how to act around you," he admitted. "I was scared I'd mess it up." "You didn't," she said softly. "We didn't know then that life would test us so much, but somehow, we survived." Jake's eyes darkened with emotion. "We did, and maybe surviving isn't just about enduring. Maybe it's about learning to hold on, even when everything tells you to let go." Her smile faltered, and she squeezed his hand. "I'm scared," she confessed. "Scared that it could all fall apart again." "Then we won't let it," he said firmly. "We're not those same people anymore. We've seen the cracks, felt the grief. But now, we also know how to repair them. Step by step, together." A quiet peace settled over them. It wasn't a resolution with fireworks or dramatic flair. It was something deeper, understanding that love wasn't always perfect. It was work, patience, courage, and trust. And for the first time in years, they felt ready to commit fully, not blindly, but deliberately. That evening, back at their apartment, they sat on the balcony with a shared blanket, watching the city lights shimmer. Jake had made Lily's favorite dinner, made lasagna, garlic bread, and apple pie for dessert. They ate slowly, savoring the flavors, the silence, and the companionship. When the plates were cleared, Lily rested her head on Jake's shoulder. "I missed this," she murmured. "Missed us." "I did too," he whispered. "More than I can say, but now, we're choosing each other, even after everything." She looked up, eyes shining. "Even after everything," he nodded, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We're stronger because of it, not despite it." In the following weeks, they faced challenges that would have previously driven them apart. Misunderstandings, old insecurities, and lingering grief surfaced unexpectedly. But this time, instead of retreating, they talked, true, honest, and unafraid. They argued, yes, but they argued to understand, not to hurt. They cried together, not in isolation. Slowly, their love became a living proof of resilience. One evening, Lily brought up the subject they had avoided for years. "Do you want to try again? For a family, even if it's different this time?" Jake thought for a long moment, then smiled. "We'll find a way, not because we have to, but because we want to, together." She leaned into him, letting the words settle. And in that quiet moment, the city below, oblivious to their triumph, they knew the truth. Love was never about perfection, timing, or guarantees. It was about courage, the courage to return, to forgive, and to rebuild. Months later, on a rainy afternoon, they returned to Riverside Park, the same trail, the same bridge, the same river. Lily carried an umbrella, Jake held her hand, and for the first time, neither hesitated. They laughed as the rain dripped down their faces. Walking close enough to touch, careful not to let the storm erase the bridge they had rebuilt. The river flowed beneath them, steady, constant, unbothered by the chaos above. "I think we finally understand what it means," Lily said, glancing at him with a soft smile. "What's that?" he asked, that lovant about never falling apart. "It's about finding your way back. After everything." Jake squeezed her hand. "Exactly. And I wouldn't want to find my way back with anyone else." The rain fell around them, but inside, the world was warm. Their past pain hadn't vanished, but it had shaped them. Every scar was a reminder of survival, of honesty, of resilience. And as they stood together on the bridge, hearts beating in sync, they knew they were ready not for a perfect future, but for one they would build together, one step at a time. Because sometimes, after everything breaks, love doesn't just survive. It grows stronger. And for Jake and Lily, it was finally their turn to thrive. Over the next few days, Jake and Lily moved cautiously, like hikers crossing a narrow cliff path. Every word was measured, every glance tested, every laugh fragile. But there was movement, real movement. Tiny steps that whispered of hope. Jake found himself back in the routines he had abandoned. He walked Lily to work some mornings, carrying her coffee exactly how she liked it. He learned to notice the small details again, the curl of her hair on a windy day, the faint freckle by her left eyebrow, the way she tapped her pen when she was deep in thought. Things he'd taken for granted became treasures, as if rediscovering her was a gift that needed daily tending. Lily, too, opened herself slowly. She didn't pour her heart out all at once. She let him in moments: a shared lunch, a quick joke over the phone, a lingering look at the park bench where they had faced the truth. She didn't want to rebuild everything at once. She just wanted to see if the foundation was still strong. And little by little, it was. One evening, Jake suggested a quiet dinner in their old apartment, just the two of them. Lily hesitated. Memories of fights and broken promises haunted her. But she agreed, understanding that this was part of their process, not perfection, but effort. The apartment smelled faintly of lavender and old wood. Jake lit a few candles and cooked chicken parmesan. The dish, Lily said, reminded her of better days. They ate slowly, savoring the food and the silence between bites. No phones, no distractions, just the clink of cutlery, the soft hum of the refrigerator, and their quiet breathing. After dinner, Lily sat on the couch, her knees drawn to her chest. Jake joined her, close enough for warmth but careful not to crowd her. "Do you remember," he asked softly, "that first summer we moved into this apartment?" She nodded, a small smile forming. "You painted the walls. I hated the color, but you convinced me it was modern chic." He laughed. "I still think it was perfect. Perfect like us back then," she murmured. He reached for her hand. She let him take it, a silent agreement that neither of them wanted to go back to the loneliness they'd lived through. "We're not that naive anymore," he said. "We know love isn't enough by itself, but maybe honesty and patience can be." She nodded slowly, eyes glistening. I think we can try." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of months of grief, silence, and fear. It wasn't a dramatic declaration or a grand gesture, just a real human agreement to rebuild piece by piece. 2 weeks later, an unexpected test of their renewed trust arrived. Lily received a call from her mother. Her estranged brother had returned to the city after years away. Old tensions flared instantly. Memories of family drama, arguments, and resentment threatened to spill over into her carefully rebuilt life. Jake noticed her tension as soon as she hung up the phone. "Do you want to talk about it?" he asked gently. "I don't know," she admitted. "He's part of my life, but it's complicated, and I don't want to drag us into it." "You don't have to face it alone," Jake said firmly. "Whatever it is, we handle it together." For the first time in months, Lily felt anchored. She allowed herself to lean into him, both physically and emotionally. That night, they sat on the balcony, wrapped in a shared blanket, talking through family history, old wounds, and complicated feelings. The city's lights twinkled below them. Indifferent to their struggles, but beautiful in the calm it offered. By the end of the conversation, Lily realized something profound. Life would always bring challenges, family, careers, grief, loss, but the difference now was that she and Jake weren't facing them alone. They were partners again, cautiously, carefully, deliberately. A few days later, Jake surprised her. He brought a picnic to the Riverside Park, where they had met weeks ago. They spread a blanket near the same wooden bridge, sharing sandwiches, apple cider, and laughter that felt unforced. She noticed how he had remembered the little things, the exact brand of chips she liked, her favorite blanket, and even her tendency to hum when she was happy. At one point, she leaned against him, letting her head rest on his shoulder. The gesture was quiet, but loaded with meaning, trust, forgiveness, and tentative love, all rolled into one. Jake tightened his arm around her, feeling the same mix of vulnerability and hope. "You know," she said softly, "after everything, I never thought we'd actually get here." "Neither did I," he admitted. "But here we are." She smiled, eyes glimmering. "Trying again. That's what counts." And in that moment, amidst the rustling leaves and soft river sounds, they understood the truth. Sometimes, love isn't about never breaking, it's about choosing each other, again and again, even when the world reminds you why it once fell apart. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. They left the diner together, but didn't walk side. There was still a polite distance between them, like two people relearning the shape of each other's presence. The city pulsed around them, cars honking, someone arguing with a parking meter, a street vendor yelling about fresh pretzels, but none of it actually reached them. They walked in silence until they reached the corner where their paths split. "This is me," Lily said quietly, pointing toward the train station. Jake nodded. "Yeah, I know." He didn't want the moment to end. She didn't seem eager to leave either. She shifted on her feet, biting her lower lip the way she always did when she was weighing something important. "Can we maybe meet again?" she asked. The question nearly buckled his knees. "Whenever you want?" "Not too fast," she said gently. "We need to be careful. I don't want to repeat old patterns." "Then we take it slow." They stared at each other, and for the first time in a long time, her eyes didn't look tired because of him. She nodded, took a breath like she was stepping into cold water, and then turned toward the station. But halfway down the stairs, she stopped, looked back, and said, "Jake, thank you for showing up today." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. She smiled faintly and disappeared into the rush of commuters. Jake stood there long after she had gone, letting her words sink into him like sunlight thawing something that had been frozen too long. For the first time in months, he felt a small piece of himself settle into place. He spent the rest of the day working, though his mind drifted constantly. Every spreadsheet blurred into the shape of her face. Every meeting sounded like static. His co-workers noticed. One asked if he was sick. He almost laughed. Sick? No, hopeful. Terrified. Maybe both. By evening, he couldn't stay in the apartment. He stepped out onto the fire escape, the cool night brushing against him as he stared out at the crowded skyline. This was the same city where they had fallen in love, built routines, shared cheap pizzas on Friday nights, and planned futures that shattered under pressure. He wanted to try again. But wanting wasn't enough. They needed something different this time. Something stronger. Rooted in truth rather than fear. His phone buzzed. A message from Lily. "I'm making dinner with my sister. She keeps burning the chicken. Thought you'd find that funny." A laugh actually escaped him, light, surprised. "Real," he texted back. "She was born to destroy kitchens." A moment later, true. The exchange was tiny, but it felt huge. It wasn't forced. It wasn't about fixing anything or digging up old pain. It was just two people remembering how to breathe around each other again. He typed another message, then erased it. He didn't want to be pushy. Not yet. Instead, he put the phone down and let the night settle around him. The next morning, he woke before sunrise. Memories came in waves, good ones, painful ones, all tangled together. He brewed coffee, sat by the window, and watched the city slowly glow awake. He wondered what Lily was doing. If she slept well, if she felt the same cautious spark he did. Around 10, his phone rang. Not a message, an actual call. His heart stumbled, double quotes high. Lily said when he answered. Her voice was soft, but there was a steadiness beneath it. Are you busy today? No, he said instantly. He cleared his throat. I mean, no, I'm free. I was thinking, she said slowly, maybe we could take a walk. Somewhere quiet. Not in the city, he blinked. Yeah, absolutely. Where? Riverside Park, she said. The trail we used to bike on, he remembered it well. The quiet path, the old wooden bridge she always stopped on because she liked the way the river sounded underneath it. The same place he'd once told her he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. Sure, he said. What time? 30 minutes. I'll be there. When the call ended, he sat for a moment, letting the reality settle. She was reaching out. She was trying. And although fear tangled with hope, it was the first time in a long time. He felt like maybe, just maybe something broken could be rebuilt. Riverside Park was calmer than usual. The trees swayed lazily, and the river moved in slow, patient waves. Lily waited near the start of the trail, hands in her jacket pockets. When she saw him, she gave a small, brave smile. You made it, she said. I would have walked here if I had to. She rolled her eyes softly. But the smile deepened. They started walking slow, steady steps, no rush. The quiet wasn't heavy this time. It was open, like space that allowed something new to grow. And somewhere deep inside, Jake felt the first real hint of possibility. After everything, they really were trying again. The trail was quieter than Jake remembered. Maybe because it was early, or maybe because memories always felt louder than reality. Lily walked beside him, not close enough to touch, but not far enough to lose. A balanced distance. Like two people testing the temperature of something delicate before stepping in. They crossed the wooden bridge slowly. The boards creaked like they were greeting old friends. Jake glanced at Lily, remembering a moment years ago, her sitting on the railing. Shoes dangling, laughing as she tried to count how many fish swam below. Back then, the world felt easy. Today, the air between them carried weight. But it wasn't the choking heaviness of months past. It was something else. Something waiting. Lily leaned on the railing now, watching the river move. I used to come here by myself, she said. During the last year, when things were hard, Jake's chest tightened. Why didn't you tell me? You were drowning too, she said, not unkindly. I didn't want to drag you deeper. He stepped beside her. We were supposed to carry things together. She let out a small breath, neither laugh nor sigh. We forgot how the river rolled beneath them, calm/steady. Jake studied her profile, her eyes locked on the water, her jaw tightening like she was bracing herself. I talked to one of the counselors from the support group, she said slowly. Not about us. About the pressure we put on ourselves. The expectations. The grief. He swallowed. I should have gone with you. You weren't ready, she said, and I wasn't ready to ask. A flock of birds scattered from a tree above them, their wings beating like frantic applause. Lily watched them rise, her face softening. They leave, but they always come back. Instinct, maybe. Hope. Both. The symbolism wasn't lost on him. They continued down the trail. Passing joggers and a father teaching his son to ride a bike. The boys' laughter echoed through the trees, and Jake felt Lily's pace falter. She looked away quickly, but the hurt flashed across her face before she hid it. Hey, Jake said gently, we don't have to stay here. It's fine, she insisted, but her voice was thin. He didn't push. Pushing was one of the mistakes he used to make. Instead, he slowed his pace, giving her time to steady herself. At a bench near the river bend, she sat. He joined her. The water shimmered under the late morning sun. I need to tell you something, she said finally. Jake braced himself. Okay. She stared at her hands. When I left, it wasn't just because of the tests, or the doctors, or the disappointment. It was because I started looking at myself like I was the problem. Like I was taking something from you, you weren't. But that's how it felt. Her voice cracked. And I was scared you felt it too. I didn't, he said immediately, but she raised a hand. Let me finish. He nodded. She swallowed hard. I thought about divorce. Not because I wanted to stop loving you, but because I thought letting you go would be kinder than watching you stay with someone who couldn't give you the life you wanted. The words hit him like cold water. Lily. He whispered. That's what broke me, she said quietly. Not the doctors. Not the tests. The feeling that I wasn't enough for you. Jake felt something inside him collapse. You were never the problem. You hear me? Never. But you stopped looking at me, she said, tears forming despite her effort to hold them back. You stopped touching me. I thought you blamed me. I blamed myself, he admitted, voice thick. I thought I failed you. The realization hung heavily between them, two people wounded by the same fear. Too afraid to speak it. For a long moment, neither talked. The wind carried the scent of fresh water and cut grass. A dog barked somewhere behind them. Life moved, untouched by their pain. Lily wiped her cheek. I didn't ask you here to apologize. I needed you to know why I walked away. I'm glad you told me, he said. I'm sorry I made you feel alone. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. He exhaled slowly. So where does that leave us? She looked at him, really looked at him, as though searching for the truth beneath his tired eyes. It leaves us here, she said. Talking? Not pretending. Not hiding. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, do you want to try, Jake? Not jump back, not pretend nothing happened, just try. He didn't hesitate. Yes, he said, more than anything. Her breath trembled, but the smallest smile touched her lips. Then let's start there. He didn't reach for her hand, but this time, she reached for his slowly, unsure. Fingers brushing his like a promise waiting to be spoken. And for the first time, in a long time, the world didn't feel so heavy. The night the city lights blurred outside the bus window, Jake Turner realized he had finally run out of excuses. He'd left the house that morning telling himself he needed air, space, anything that wasn't filled with the ghost of the life he'd broken. But here he was, 12 hours later, replaying the moment everything slipped from his hands. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just a quiet sentence spoken at the kitchen table. Jake, I think we need time apart. Lily didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She didn't accuse. That calmness hurt more than any argument ever could. It meant she had reached a point beyond anger. She had reached acceptance. A place he feared was too far for him to follow. The bus jolted over a pothole as the street lamp streaked across his reflection. He looked older than he remembered. Tired in a way sleep didn't fix. Everyone always said he and Lily were perfect together, two hardworking kids from the same small town who had built a life in the city from scratch. But people only saw the surface. They didn't see the late nights, the pressure, the doctor visits that ended with forced smiles and quiet rides home. They didn't see the way they started avoiding each other's eyes because looking to a scruple closely meant acknowledging the truth neither knew how to speak aloud. They had tried for years. Hope, disappointment, hope, disappointment until the cycle became part of their identity. Infertility isn't loud. It quietly eats at two people until they forget who they were before the loss. He remembered one night months back, sitting beside Lily on the edge of their bed. She was staring at her hands like she was afraid of breaking in front of him. He reached for her, and she pulled away not because she didn't love him, but because everything they touched became a reminder of what they couldn't have. That small flinch played in his mind every day since she left. Tonight though, something was different. He felt the weight of a decision forming, not out of anger or pride, but out of clarity. He had to stop pretending time alone would fix what they broke together. He had to face the truth he had dodged for months. The truth that he still loved her. The truth that he never stopped. The bus hissed to a stop downtown. Jake stepped into the cold air, the city humming around him. People rushed past, couples laughing. Kids tugging at parents. Friends arguing over where to eat. Life kept moving, even when yours stalled. He walked toward the nearest diner, the one he and Lily used to visit before doctor appointments. Back when they were still hopeful. Still planning baby names they never told anyone about. The place looked exactly the same, neon sign flickering, windows fogged from the fryers in the back, the familiar bell chiming as he stepped inside. A nostalgic ache settled in his chest. He slid into a booth and ordered a slice of apple pie, the way he always had. The waitress gave him a curious smile, probably wondering why a grown man looked like he was about to confess his sins to a dessert. His pie arrived with a soft clink, steam rising, cinnamon scent wrapping around him. It reminded him of fall nights years ago, of Lily stealing bites from his plate while claiming she wasn't hungry. He could almost hear her laugh, almost feel her shoulder nudging his. A vibration buzzed in his jacket pocket. He glanced down and froze. A message from Lily. He hadn't heard from her in 2 weeks, not since she moved into her sister's spare room. His heart kicked hard enough to hurt as he opened it. "We need to talk," that was all. For words, but they carried more weight than any paragraph could. He stared at the screen, wondering whether this message was the beginning of something new, or the final confirmation that the life they built had reached its end. He typed a reply, then deleted it. Typed another. Deleted again. His hands shook slightly, fear, hope, regret, all tangled together. He finally settled on, "Okay, when?" Her answer came quicker than he expected. "Tomorrow, noon. Same place we used to go after appointments." Jake swallowed. That diner. This diner. She wanted to meet here. For the first time in months, a small ember of something warm flickered in his chest. Not hope exactly, just the faint possibility that after everything, they might not be done, not yet. Asterisk. Jake barely slept that night. He lay on the couch because he couldn't bring himself to sleep in the bed they once shared, staring at the ceiling as the city hummed outside his window. Every thought circled back to Lily. Every memory stung like a bruise he kept pressing just to feel something. By morning, he looked like he'd wrestled with his own regrets and lost. Still, he showered, shaved, and put on the gray shirt Lily once said made him look kind. He didn't know if it mattered, but some things you do because you hope quietly, secretly, that they might. He arrived at the diner 10 minutes early, heart thumping in a slow, nervous rhythm. The waitress from last night raised an eyebrow. "Back so soon?" He gave a thin smile. "Guess I forgot something." Peace, he thought. Closure, maybe both. He chose the same booth as before. Tapping his foot under the table like time might move faster if he kept the rhythm steady. People filtered in. Construction workers grabbing breakfast. Office folks picking up coffee. A teenager trying to convince his mum he did study last night. Asterisk, ordinary life. And then he saw her. Lily. Walking through the door like time froze out of respect. She looked different. Not weaker. Not stronger. Just quieter. Like her emotions were tucked away somewhere even she didn't want to reach. Her hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, a style she usually wore when she didn't want attention. She spotted him instantly, hesitated only a second, then walked over. "Hi," she said softly. "Hey," he replied. They sat. For a moment neither spoke. The silence wasn't hostile, but fragile, like if either of them said the wrong thing, the thin thread holding them together would snap. Finally, Lily inhaled, steady but tired. "I didn't text you to fight. I didn't come to," he said. "Good." She folded her hands, fingers gripping each other as though anchoring herself. "Last week, after my dad's funeral, you showing up meant more than I could say. I didn't expect you there. You shouldn't have had to go through that alone." A small flicker crossed her eyes, something like gratitude mixed with pain. "That's the thing, Jake. We spent so long going through everything separately. Even when we were together," he lowered his gaze. "She wasn't wrong. I don't know when we stopped talking," she continued quietly. "Not surface talking. Real talking. The kind where you say what you feel even when it scares you." Jake's throat tightened. "I didn't know how to without making it worse. It already was worse." The truth in her voice cracked something inside him. The waitress approached, breaking the intensity. "Can I get you to anything?" Lily ordered tea. He ordered coffee he didn't actually want. Once the waitress left, Lily touched her cup, fingertips trembling. "When you left the house that day," she said, "I waited. I kept expecting you to call. To come back. To knock on my sister's door and say something, anything." Jake inhaled sharply. "I was scared." "Of what?" "That if I tried to fix what we had, I'd fail again." Her eyes met his direct, vulnerable, exhausted. "Jake, we weren't failing because we couldn't have a child. We were failing because we stopped being us." A memory flashed in Jake's mind a night years earlier when Lily danced barefoot in the living room. Music too loud, her laughter spilling over the couch. He used to lift her up and spin her until she yelled at him to put her down. They used to be light, free, alive. Where had they gone? "Lily," he murmured, "I never stopped loving you. Not for a second, even when it hurt." She blinked quickly once, twice. A tear formed, but didn't fall. "I didn't stop loving you either, but love, it got buried under everything else." He nodded slowly. They were sitting in the ruins of their shared heartbreak, but for the first time, neither looked away. Then Lily said something that shifted the entire tone of the morning. "I didn't ask you here for closure." His heart skipped. "I asked you here," she went on, voice unsteady but real, "because I don't want to pretend we're strangers. I don't know what this means yet. I don't know what we're capable of anymore. But I want to talk. I want to try. Not fix everything at once. Just try." The world outside the diner kept moving, cars rushing, doors opening, people laughing, but inside that booth, time stilled. Jake leaned forward. "Then let's start there," he said. "We talk honestly, no walls." She nodded, swallowing hard. After everything, she whispered, "Maybe talking is the first step back." He didn't reach for her hand, not yet. But he felt the space between them shift, like the distance wasn't a wall anymore, just a bridge waiting to be crossed.